everyone, I am Maria Landria Casicas, a third-year student from Southern Leyte State University main campus, Sugod, Southern Leyte, Philippines. So our topic for today's video is about the self from various philosophical perspectives. So we will be focusing on the philosophical view of the self according to the different philosophers. But before we proceed, I would like you all to know the intended learning outcome for this video. So at the end of this session, you are all expected to be able to: number 1, discuss the different representations and conceptualization of the self from various disciplines. 2, examine the different influences, factors, and forces that shape the self. 3, compare and contrast how the self has been represented across the different disciplines and perspectives. Knowing oneself is critical to being an effective team member as well as being successful in life, work, and relationships. Your personal identity influences everything you do, and it changes and evolves over time. The purpose of this video is to help you deepen your understanding and appreciation of who you are as a person. You will explore how you see yourself through the lenses of personal identity, your skills and talents, roles, values, personal core, and how you meet your psychological needs. You will also examine how you respond to the pressures of changes and transitions in your life. Philosophy employs the inquisitive mind to discover the ultimate causes, reasons, and principles of everything. It goes beyond the scientific investigation by exploring all areas of knowledge such as religion, psychology, politics, physics, and even medicine. Hence, the etymological definition of philosophy, or love of wisdom, could pertain to the desire for truth by formulating never-ending questions to provide answers to every inquiry about the nature of human existence. The nature of the self is a topic of interest among philosophers. First philosopher, we have Socrates. An unexamined life is not worth living. For Socrates, the self is synonymous with the soul. He believes that every human possesses an immortal soul that survives the physical body. Socrates was the first to focus on the full power of reason on the human self, who we are, who we should be, and who we will become. Socrates suggests that reality consists of two dichotomous realms, physical and ideal realms. The physical realm is unchangeable, transient, and imperfect. The ideal realm is unchanging, eternal, and immortal. The physical world in which man belongs to the physical realm. The physical world in which man lives belongs to the physical realm. On the other hand, the unchanging, eternal, perfect realm includes the intellectual essences of the universe, concepts such as truth, goodness, and beauty. The soul belongs to the ideal realm. Socrates explains that the essence of the self, the soul, is the immortal entity. The soul strives for wisdom and perfection, and reason is the soul's tool to achieve this exalted state. But then, as long as the soul is tied to the body, the quest for wisdom is inhibited by the imperfection of the physical realm, where it wanders and is confused. Socrates thus suggests that man must live an examined life and a life of purpose and value. For him, an unexamined life is not worth living. The individual person can have a meaningful and happy life only if he becomes virtuous and knows the value of himself that can be achieved through incessant soul searching. He must begin at the source of all knowledge and significance, which is the self. The Socratic method, the so-called introspection, is a method of carefully examining one's thoughts and emotions to gain self-knowledge. Next, we have Plato. The self is an immortal soul. Another ancient Greek philosopher, Plato elaborates on Socrates' concept of the soul. Like Socrates, Plato believes that the self is synonymous with the soul. His philosophy can be explained as the process of self-knowledge and purification of the soul. Specifically, he introduces the idea of a three-part soul or self. reason, physical appetite, and spirit or passion. Reason is the divine essence that enables us to think deeply, make wise choices, and achieve a true understanding of eternal truths. The physical appetite includes our basic biological needs such as hunger, thirst, and sexual desire. The spirit or passion includes the basic emotions such as love, anger, ambition, aggressiveness, and empathy. These three elements of ourselves are in dynamic relationship with one another and sometimes in conflict. When conflict occurs, Plato believes it is the responsibility of reason to sort things out and exert control, restoring a harmonious relationship among the three elements of ourselves. Further, Plato believes that the genuine happiness can only be achieved by people who consistently make sure that their reason is in control of their spirit and appetites. This harmonious integration under the control of reason is the essence of Plato's concept of justice. As such, if man lives in accordance to his nature, then he is giving justice to his existence. Having described his vision of the soul or self, Plato goes on to elaborate his ideas about the soul. In his theory of forms, he introduces the concepts of the two worlds, the worlds of forms or non-physical ideas and the world of sense or reality. While the world of forms is real and permanent, the world of sense is temporary and only a replica of the ideal world. Plato claims that the sensible world is dependent on the ideal world where the concept of the soul belongs. Since the soul is regarded as something permanent, man should give more importance to it than the physical body which resides in the world of sense. Next philosopher we have Aristotle. The soul is the essence of the self. Another Greek philosopher, Aristotle believes that the soul is merely a set of defining features and does not consider the body and soul as separate entities. He suggests that anything with life has a soul. Aristotle holds that the soul is the essence of all living things. Thus, the soul is the essence of the self. However, humans differ from other living things because of their capacity for rational thinking. His discussion about the self centers on the kinds of soul possessed by man. Thus, he introduces the three kinds of soul: vegetative, sentient, and rational. The vegetative soul includes the physical body that can grow. The sentient soul includes sensual desires, feelings, and emotions. Rational soul is what makes man human. It includes the intellect that allows man to know and understand things. Thus, Aristotle suggests that the rational nature of the self is to lead a good, flourishing, and fulfilling life, or self-actualization. The pursuit of happiness is a search for a good life and includes doing virtuous actions. In saying this, he posits that part of the rational soul is characterized by moral virtues such as justice and courage. Next, we have Saint Augustine. The self has an immortal soul. The African philosopher Augustine is regarded as saint, or also known as Saint Augustine of Hippo in the Catholic Church. He integrates the idea of Plato and teachings of Christianity. Augustine believes that the physical body is radically different from and inferior to its inhabitant, the immortal soul. As his thinking matures, he developed a more unified perspective of the body and soul. He ultimately came to view the body as spouse of the soul, both attached to one another by a natural appetite. He believes that the body is united with the soul so that man may be entire and complete. Nevertheless, as a religious philosopher, he contemplates on the nature of man with emphasis on the soul as an important element of man. He believes that the soul is what governs and defines man. In his work, Confessions, Augustine describes that humankind is created in the image and likeness of God. Everything created by God, who is all good, is good. Therefore, the human person, being creation of God, is always geared towards the good. Augustine is convinced that the self is known only through knowing God. Augustine espouses the significance of reflection as well as the importance of prayers and confessions to arrive at a justification for the existence of God. For him, knowledge can only come by seeing the truth by dwells within us. The truth of which Augustine speaks refers to the truth of knowing God. God is transcendent and the self seeks to be united with God through faith and reason. In his mission to discover the truth on the existence of God, Augustine develops the fundamental concept of the human person and thus provides the philosophical principle, I am doubting, therefore I am. Next we have René Descartes. I think, therefore I am. French philosopher René Descartes is the father of modern philosophy. He has brought an entirely new perspective to philosophy and the self. He wants to penetrate the nature of reasoning process and understand its relationship to the human self. The Latin phrase "cogito ergo sum," or I think therefore I am, is the keystone of Descartes' concept of self. For him, the act of thinking about the self, of being self-conscious, is in itself proof that there is a self. He is confident that no rational person will doubt his or her own existence as a conscious, thinking entity while we are aware of thinking about ourselves. For Descartes, this is the essence of the human self. A thinking entity that doubts, understands, analyzes, questions, and reasons. He contends further that if man reflects thoughtfully, he will realize that there are two dimensions of the human self, the self as a thinking entity and the self as a physical body. In particular, he introduces the idea of the thinking self or soul as non-material, immortal, conscious being, and independent of the physical laws of the universe. In contrast, the physical body is a material, mortal, non-thinking entity, fully governed by the physical laws of nature. In other words, the soul and the body are independent of one another and each can exist and function without the other. The essential self, the self as a thinking entity, is distinct from the self as a physical body. Simply put, the thinking self can exist independently of the physical body. Next, we have John Locke. The self is consciousness. For English philosopher John Locke, the human mind at birth is tabula rasa, or a blank state. He feels that the self, or personal identity, is constructed primarily from sense experiences, or more specifically, what people see, hear, smell, taste, and feel. These experiences shape and mold the self throughout a person's life. For Locke, conscious awareness and memory of previous experiences are the keys to understand the self. Locke believes that the essence of the self is its conscious awareness of itself as a thinking, reasoning, and reflecting identity. He contends that the consciousness accompanies thinking and makes possible the concept people have of self. Self-consciousness is necessary to have a coherent personal or self-identity or knowledge of the self as a person. Consciousness is what makes identity of a person similar different situations. At this point, Locke is proposing that people could use the power of reason to gain knowledge and consequently use this knowledge to understand experiences. Knowledge is based on careful observation of experiences. Reason plays an important role in helping to figure out the significance of sense experience and to reach intelligent conclusions. Thus, using the power of reason and introspection enables one to understand and achieve accurate conclusions about the self or personal identity.